Positive love story. An ordinary morning, moderately cloudy, moderately cool. An ordinary start to a young teacher's new day, hastily arranging her hair in a messy bun. The joy of communication, that sweet moment for a teacher's heart when pedagogical aspiration and perceived by young minds with interest or consciousness of need, was already crowding the mind. Of course, there are also reasons for the cooling of joy in our work, but that is for later. I will return to them, but for now, my favorite 11th. The first lesson, the practical work, ironic, all-known boys hiding an increased interest in women. Diligent in their studies, interested in grades, girls, coquettish laughing, it is to thank them. These boys and girls, the teacher is always in shape. I go out last, catching the interesting glances of men already familiar from the morning meetings. It's nice, youth requires admiring eyes. A teacher's room, filed, rustled, filed, was the scent of perfume, bustle, and lived its usual life. A stately teacher of English language, evening with a laugh, told me how still half asleep getting into the bus in a stern voice said, "Good afternoon. This is the cause of our profession." We laughed. And with the bell the spires drew glass. "Mrs. Thompson, I read on the internet that in 20 years oil will run out of earth and the energy famine will begin." It's Sam. He knows perfectly well the possible theoretical solutions to the resource problem. But the lesson will not be a lesson if he doesn't lead the teacher away from the topic. I play along, however, with the response. "Sam, everything is in your hands. Engineering doesn't still stand." Giggling, rummaging, asking questions specifying the task, got quiet, learned over the copybooks, rustled the pages of their atlases, and the lesson went on its way. Jaden Cord, a handsome tall boy, nervously twiddles in his pen in hand. What's the matter? I wonder. Surely it's not his work that embarrasses him. Liza, a naturally blonde and musically gifted girl, is busily scribbling in her copybook, occasionally glazing over the table at the end of her textbook, stretching out his long lengths, leaning carelessly back in his chair. Paul Bullock is lazily wonders about the necessity of conclusion at the end of his work, nodding indulgently in response to my ironic response. Athletic Honin, his young body hardened by workouts, demands action, glancing over this notebook, now at his neighbor Lena, now at Artem, has straight A. He writes without straining his thoughts, combines two works. There is no reason to think that he is plagiarized ironic. Honin, do not forget to specify co-authors. Black-eyed beauty graceful Judy Jackson, and smart too. Lifted her eyes, smiled slightly. She knows that I admire her. My eternal opponent, who always tried to undermine my authority as a teacher, is not in my uniform. Today he writes without lifting his eyes. Doesn't doubt my erudition. Doesn't accuse me of unfair approach to assessment of knowledge. I mean about Martin Smith. Sometimes I get so angry that I go to the window to calm down, but he also stops when he sees me in confusion. The bell rang, they took my notebooks, and I, turning away, drew a diagram of the distribution of atmospheric pressure belts for the 7th grade. Finally, I sat down at the table, folded the notebooks into the neat pile, pulling out a single sheet of paper, indignant at the forceful student, assuming that the sheet is practical paper. Unfolding folded sheet of paper, I changed my face, reading, "Mrs. Thompson, I love you," and a printed rose. Wow! Who dares to write a grown woman a moderately strict teacher so frivolously note? A mockery? A team effort? Rushed in my head. I wonder how to lead, pretend I didn't read it, or think of a sharp, harsh face discouraging forever joking about the teacher. But who could do this? Or maybe you are really in love, and a teacher is a teacher, but you're 24 and he's 17. 7 years is a big difference, but it happens. They can fall in love with a 5th grader. The rest of the day was spent in thought, returning to the note. I do not deny that somewhere deep down stirred an pleasant sense of awareness of male interest. Where are we women without loving eyes? But on the other hand, how complicated my life is now. I'm a prisoner of a hysterical lover. Now I'll live without the question who. Street noise, newsstand, where I always look through the press, and I also like to have a word with a news agent. An elderly, educated woman, judging by legibility in numerous publications, distracted me from the recent incident. But the heavens have continued testing on the handle of my apartment door was a rose, an exact, living copy of the rose in the note. I've always tried to keep my distance. Few people knew the date of my birthday, and certainly the children didn't know. On the net, I was firmly closed off from the strangers, a high level of conspiracy. Should I open up? Then perhaps he, incognito, would reveal his face. But I want my admirer to think of himself as undiscovered. It would be easier for me. I'll find out at school tomorrow, and I look in the register to see who wasn't wearing last classes. And when asked could I plant a rose, because I went straight home. 5th lesson was my last class. However, according to the journal, the last classes were attended. I'll be 100%, no doubt. The teachers of physics or chemistry fly unnoticed. Not only the absence of a student. Now I lived in the crosshairs of the possible manifestation of youthful invitation or something else. I should have known. Yesterday I was surprised to find in my mailbox, which had long been accessible to everyone as a result of rampage of idle teenagers, suddenly a new lock from which 2 keys were sticking out. I turned it out and opened and closed it, thinking that it was the job of either the head of the cooperative or the post office. But my eyes meet the open mouth of the neighbors section, victims of the same barbaric attacks. While I was pondering over the new box, it turned out that kid next door was waiting patiently for me in the elevator, living 1 floor up, holding the button to move it. He had recently moved in with his parents, a well-mannered young man. Would hold the door at the entryway, and now he was waiting. Thank you, she blurted into the elevator. You're welcome, and blushes. Quite an appropriate response to a thank you. His shyness is also understandable according to his age and interaction with Madame. Oh yeah, with Mademoiselle, for now. Easy homework. Noted goodbye from the height of his years and status. He is in 11th and studying at the nearest school. So a new mystery, altruism is not in vogue. But the fact is there. Lover is something else drives anonymous action, but there is no explanation. Lessons are now leading with a stone face. No jokes, no talk on extraneous topics. Eggs strictly according to protocol. On his wave, my opponent, Pam John's forever sly face, and Iger doesn't give me reason to believe they are my secret's admirers. Most likely they could be the authors of the prank. But who updated my box? The drawer played its role very soon. I found in a very wonderful porcelain figure of a graceful young lady. So continuation follows. Besides, there is unauthorized access to my correspondence now. The drawer was open. The figurine would not pass through the narrow slot. But what kind of correspondence is there now? Multicolored, worn out, advertising pamphlets, and lucky letters from the pension fund. I'm asking my neighbor, Mr. Jameson, to change the lock on the box, and I'm lying him that I have lost the keys. Sometimes had past lesson in 11th grade continued to take place in the mode of strict distance between me and students, and in lodgings only for the girls. Charming diplomatic Raven even dared to ask what was the reason for this attitude. I evaded my answer, pretending not to hear, but the case didn't move forward one bit. In my opinion, none of the boys were not suitable for the role of romantic lover, but except for Jack Thompson. I remember the day I received the note, he was something confused. Doubts fell away when I saw him in the corridor with a curly-haired girl from the parallels class. She just melted in his adoration. It took some time. I already thought that the terror of love stalking is in the thing out of past. As one day picking up the phone at home, I heard a wonderful tune by Paula Moore. On the other end of the line was a living person. I felt it. Perhaps he was waiting for a comment and response, but I silently hung up. So the story continues. I tensed up again. Now for my condition was comparable to a victim living under the scope of sniper. Where and when would I shoot? But the clue was coming, and it was helped by a quite ordinary case, not romantic at all. The school organized an exhibition of works of art, where both pupils and teachers' work were on display. I also put my woolen watercolors, landscapes, still life. I saw them on the internet and got interested in non-traditional drawing. My morning preparation for school were disrupted by a spreading stain on my kitchen ceiling. I quickly ran up to the floor. My neighbor was already rushing around the apartment. The valve on the water pipe had burst, which I was also familiar with. Today's tinfoil and cardboard parts don't last very long. The door to the room was open and my gaze fell on the wall. There hung my watercolor, which had disappeared from the exhibition the other day. That was it. No mystery now. All logically settled into a chain of interviewing events and conjecture. The young man in love is my upstairs. A neighbor, he is well acquainted with my 11th graders. I've seen them together. They also share sports activities. Why only was the note paced by my students? And this I found for an explanation he was afraid to guess, not knowing my reaction to a love letter. His buddy, one of my students, who, waiting in the elevator, the rose and the music, But again, I prefer to pretend that I didn't know anything about it and delegate things absolute love. And soon, I changed my place of residence. My military fiancé returned from a long business trip, and we left town. My mother stayed in an apartment. She told me that someone was asking about me in a young, boyish voice on the phone. But my sensitive mother had delved to my love affair, she answered evasively say. She left for New York for a period of time, an internship, and our time that was in his name soon left enrolled in a military school, and let the new love be mutual for him.